Hey, have you ever heard of Anchor? There's a chance that you probably haven't, but it is an excellent platform. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain, okay? You ready for this? It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer, man. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. Anchor is distributing my podcast. It can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast. Yep, I know that's what you've been waiting for. Yep, you can make money with no minimum listenership. It's pretty much everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So now's the time. Get off the couch, pick up your microphone, and do something. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Blessed be the ones listening to my podcast. You're listening to the Equinox Podcast. I am your host, A.L. Knox. We have another episode for you here. And if you're not familiar with how my podcast goes, people submit me questions, I answer the questions. And these questions are quite random. But I do enjoy answering these questions because I have nothing else to do but to answer these questions, and they make me smarter, sort of, to answer all these random questions. But anywho, we're gonna kick it off here with episode 3 of the podcast with this first question that's submitted to me here. Do aliens live amongst us? Well, alright. Now I told you these questions could be quite random. But I will answer them to the best of my ability, whether it be fact or opinion. And the short answer, yes. Long answer, aliens, I feel like aliens do live amongst us. I don't feel like we're the only bipedal humanoid specimens in the universe. I feel like there's certainly a chance of specimens or creatures or what have you that do live probably under this earth or beyond this earth. And what I mean by that is, basically through the cavern systems of this earth here, there could be another world under where we stand, possibly. And what I mean beyond the atmosphere of this earth, like aliens on different planets, pretty much. And I do give that thought a lot. Not as much as I used to, but when I was a bit younger, I'm still a very young person, but when I was a bit younger, I used to think about, wow, do aliens exist and where do they live? And I would love to meet them and such. But it's possible that you have already met one, but you just didn't know it. And it's also possible that we human beings are aliens. It's possible that we came from another planet, our ancestors came from another planet, came here, started seeding us here, seed S-E-E-D, seeding us here, and our ancestors are, in retrospect, are aliens and whatnot. That's also a very possibility. Now, with that being said, I would say that if there are aliens amongst us and they're able to get over to where we live, that means they have some pretty sophisticated technology, one would assume. So it would be best to be cordial with these extraterrestrials, Or hell, maybe these aliens of what we call them, maybe they've been living here longer than we have, but they've just been hiding. You never know. But the point is to develop cordial relationships with them and try not to kill them and steal from them and etc. You know, the ways of man and etc. Alright, moving on. Question number 2. Were you sad about Kobe Bryant's death? Short answer, yes. Long answer. When I first heard it, I was in quite the disbelief. I was standing outside with a couple of co-workers, and somebody told me, yo, Kobe Bryant died. I'm like, you lying. You are lying. And then I was like, pull it up on your phone. Even though we're not supposed to have phones on the job like that. But they pulled out their phone. They pulled up Google. Whole bunch of results came up. Kobe Bryant dead in a helicopter crash. And I'm like, oh my God. This is weird. Kobe Bryant's not supposed to be dead right now. Certainly not supposed to die in a helicopter crash. You ever had those feelings of when certain things happen, specifically when certain people die or certain events happen in history, you're like, wait, that's weird. That was not supposed to happen. Whitney Houston was not supposed to marry Bobby Brown. Nelson Mandela was not supposed to be president of South Africa. Michael Jackson was not supposed to be drowned. Kobe Bryant is not supposed to die in a helicopter crash. What the hell is going on? So, yeah, I was very sad about it because, for one, it didn't really make much sense. I immediately Googled, what's the odds of somebody dying in a helicopter crash? And I came to the results of every 100,000 piloting hours, a helicopter crash occurs. So it is somewhat rare that a helicopter will crash. Now, that means that more than one helicopter crashes every year. But it also made me sad too that his daughter was in there and other people was in there as well. It just didn't make much sense to me that this man would go at such an early age, and he had so much going for himself. But now he's definitely cemented as a legend, and it just really saddened me. And I guess I'll leave it at that, because I really feel like Kobe, I'm about to put the tinfoil hat on here. I'm about to rub the Illuminati lotion on my body. I really feel like Kobe Bryant was sabotaged, because some reports say that it was an engine failure, and engine failures come to a lack of maintenance for the helicopter, and etc. But nobody knows exactly at this current moment, as I record this podcast at this certain time, this certain date, which I will not date my podcast, because I was informed by one of my mentors not to date my podcast, because it kind of dates my podcast. And wherever you are, whoever you are, when you listen to this podcast, I want to be as fresh as opening a box of new shoes and you getting that new shoe smell. Yes, like that. But yes, Kobe Bryant was set up by a group of evil, wicked people, and they killed them for whatever reasons. And he was in a lawsuit battle with a pharmaceutical company about a product named Black Mamba, and Kobe Bryant won that lawsuit because he felt like that pharmaceutical company was using Black Mamba in his name, and he just going through the process of that. And you fuck with Big Pharma, you gotta go, because that's how they feel. You mess with their money, you gotta go, honey. If you don't have the skills to deal with Big Pharma, you know the deal. Now tried to think of a third thing to rhyme, but it didn't work. Anyway, moving on to the next question. Will paganism establish itself in the modern world? For those who don't know what paganism is a form of worshiping a god that's not recognized as the 13 official religions in the world. Also, paganism is not an Abrahamic religion. So, for example, paganism could be worshiping Quetzalcoatl, the winged serpent. I think that's a Aztec religion. Then you have worshiping Thor and Odin. That's more Nordic. Then you have the Orishas, that's in Nigeria. Santeria, I think that's also West African, but also made its way to the Caribbeans, and etc. Just people who acknowledge God but do not worship within the 13 main religions. My answer is maybe paganism will establish itself in the modern world. You need people, major leaders, to step out from the shadows into the spotlight. Be like, my name is Keith Murray. I am the leader of this segment of this type of pagan religion. We are establishing our followers. You need people to step out there in front of everybody, and people like, oh, and then make it seem appealing and alluring. And if other people follow that formula of, let's say, Joe Black also is pagan, and he worships the earth itself and feels like the earth is an alive being, and you must wake up every day and submit your worships to it, because the earth itself will transmute the energy back into you and make you a much more blessed life or whatever. I'm just thinking of something off the top of my head. Let's just say that I've studied all 13 main religions and I've studied some pagan religions, but I am myself a universalist, a Christian, that is. But yes, that's what they would have to do, and it's possible paganism can establish itself in the modern world. It's very possible. Make itself more appealing than if it is appealing right now. I believe when you ask people what is their religion, most people will either say Christianity or Islam, for the most part, based off the popularity and sheer numbers. There are people who are like neither or any of the 13 main religions, but they kind of hide behind those two things so they won't be looked at as a weirdo. But I will show respect to the ones who say, oh, I'm neither one of those, I'm pagan. I've met them before. You meet these people as you get older. You meet them, and it's like, okay, I'm not gonna judge you. Who am I to tell you that you'll be cast away by God into a dark, fiery lava pit burning eternity? I don't have any proof of that. And who am I to cast such aspersions on thee? Because that does not fill my body with glee. It makes one want to flee from somebody who would cast such aspersions. Because definitely it's not as smooth as a Persian rug. And it does not make you feel snug. It's kind of the equivalent of somebody calling you a thug. But I digress. Moving on to the next question. Do you ever think the army will switch to robot soldiers or try to make soldiers like in Halo? Alright, to give perspective on this question here, when he means super soldiers like in Halo, basically what that means, I believe in the Halo video game, people were in a program with the military at a young age, and then began training the kids into adults, and then giving them like a super soldier serum, if you will, and strapping armor on them. So he's asking, what is the future of the army? Will it be robot soldiers, or will it be modified humans in battle suits? And I believe both of those things are existing right now. You just don't know about it because you're a regular smuggler. You're plain Jane. You know nothing about the Delta Force, or the Black Dragons, or the Red Lunar Moon, or I'm just making things up. Sorry, trying to sound cool. But yeah, if Army was switched to robot soldiers, hey, each robot soldier is expensive at first, but in the long run, thinking how the Army thinks, it would save the Army tons of money. Because when a soldier dies, $100,000 to $400,000 goes to their family members or whoever that soldier put on the dotted line to receive that money. And you don't have to feed the robots 3 times a day. There's no insurance or anything like that. Well, maybe there's insurance based off of a contracting for like repairing the robot. So they're already sending drones. That is kind of like a robot soldier itself. So to think that they step it up a bit is quite logical. Is it something happening in the immediate future? No. In 100 years, yeah, robot soldiers on the horizon, which is a dangerous thing to think of itself, because artificial intelligence can and will like start thinking on its own and trying to have one up on the humans, and probably try to like rip us apart literally, and maim us and try to ravage us and all kind of weird things. Now, making them into super soldiers like Halo, maybe there's already a program out there of making super soldiers. You just don't know about it. But I don't think that'd be so much on the forefront, because what we know in life right now, information is censored, monitored, watched. So they don't want us knowing too much that they don't want us to know. And they don't want us to believe that one can modify humans' physical peak strength, stamina, and whatnot to higher levels. So, moving on to the next question. What are your thoughts on Seer training? Seer is spelled S-E-R-E. And basically, just to give you a brief update or info on what this is, it stands for survival, evasion, resistance, escape. Seer is a program best known by its military acronym that provides U.S. military personnel, U.S. Department of Defense civilians, and private military contractors with training in evading capture, survival skills, and the military code of conduct established by the U.S. Air Force at the end of World War II. It was extended and consolidated during the Vietnam War to the Marine Corps, U.S. Navy, in the late 1980s to the U.S. Army. Most higher level Seer students are military air crew and special operations personnel considered to be at high risk of capture. The curriculum has 3 key parts: survival and evasion, resistance and escape, and water survival. Some parts are classified. Most Seer training focuses on survival and evasion. Skills taught include woodcraft and wilderness survival, including firecraft, sheltercraft, traps, and food and water procurement, preservation, and purifying improvised equipment. Also, specific equipment and techniques of rescue sciences such as distress signal, navigation, with and without escape and evasion map, route selection, wilderness first aid, techniques, methods of evasion, and communication protocols, all types of climate and terrain. So that was a brief summary of what Seer does. So basically, It's part of the U.S. Army program here that for 3 weeks they're allowed to torture the shit out you. They can break fingers, they can punch you in various places, they lock you up in a wall locker for 24 hours, they kick the shit over, they start kicking you and whatnot, they give you a butter knife in your wall locker and stuff, they can waterboard you, they can do all type of things. They tie your ass up and they drop you off in the wilderness and you have to run from them. And if they find you, they're going to torture you some more. They give you a butter knife and all types of different things while out in the woods to survive. So basically it's for people who are pilots, and they learn how to be tortured and not be the talkative sort. And while you get tortured, you can say something cool like, "You'll find that I'm not the talkative sort," followed by a right hook to your face. And they say, "Bitch please, bitch please, I'm going to get that information." And then you'll be like, "Well, you're not going to get this information because my name is Johnny Don't Talk. I'm not Italian anything, but my nickname is Johnny Don't Talk." And then they'll probably knock you off your chair and start kicking you in the stomach and be like, "Oh, Johnny is going to talk. But first we're going to get some puke out of you," and whatever. So that is the Seer training. I don't know the benefits, like economically, after you finish the class, how much you get extra in your military check and whatnot. And I don't know why people would volunteer for such a thing. But they do say through an individual being tortured, they do become stronger and whatnot. And if you keep repeating the process over and over again, it does kind of change your genes, if you will. So my thoughts on Seer training is, hey, it has its points, it has its purposes of why they do it and whatnot. I don't think it's practical for the everyday person to go through this, because the everyday person cannot go through this, because they're going to beat the crap out of you. Quite bad, I might add. Do you really want to get beat the crap out of for 3 weeks? And then you go back into the civilian world and be like, "I had Seer training," and then they're like, "Good job, do you want a cookie?" And you'll be like, you'll start to have like a mental flip, a switch, and then you'll you'll become the Seer instructor that was once you happened to you, and you'll talk to the person and be like, "I will kill you," and then the civilian person will be like, "Oh, wow, this person is mentally deranged. Say no to the U.S. military." And then some big program will happen, whatever, big protest. Say no to the army and whatever. Anyway, moving on to the next question. What body part do men and women find more attractive? I don't know. It's a case-by-case basis. What body part do men and women find more attractive? I guess since I am a male, I would say males usually like breast and butt and thighs, whatnot. Yeah, those are pretty hot right there. Those are pretty cool, or warm in this case. Those are warm. And for women, it's a buff body, and some women like male butts. That's the thing, apparently. And a chiseled face. So that's just an interesting question. It's really like a case-by-case basis. But moving on to the next question. Is it bad that Monday through Friday I eat 95% meat in my diet? And to answer this question, it is a case-by-case basis. Maybe because all men are not created equal. Thomas Jefferson lied to you. Did you know some Japanese people can crack a raw egg over rice, stir it up, and eat it? And some people who are not Japanese will do the same thing, eat it and get sick? It's all about your genetics and whatnot. If you want to eat 95% meat in your diet and it's not harming your health, then go for it. I myself, I eat a lot of vegetables. That's just like how I'm made. That's just how I'm built. I had to eat a lot of green electric foods and whatnot. But some people, depending on your genetics, the meat does do things and wonders for you and whatnot. And then some vegetarians will argue meat is a waste of time because it takes weeks for the meat to digest in your body, and you could get the same protein and nutrients and minerals from plants. And you guys are slaughtering animals, and that's wrong. Wow. I agree that one perspective will change if they watch the animal that before they eat get slaughtered. Because I've seen some videos of, hell, I've seen a video of a horse being grounded up into ground meat. It was quite disturbing. The reality that you may be eating ground horse burgers. Ew. Ew. Anywho, is it bad that you eat 95% meat in your diet? Are you fat? That is my question. Because, meat can make you fat and whatnot. Now, if you have like a round belly, then I suggest that you start exercising more and start eating more vegetables and drinking more liquids and whatnot. But I have no qualms with somebody who eats 95% of meat. You like what you like. You like putting that meat in your mouth and chewing it proficiently and swallowing it. So, yeah, you're a meat eater. Congratulations. Moving on to the next question. What is the worst part of the Army? Another Army question. I wonder why I was submitted 2 Army questions today. Interesting. Wait, was I submitted more than 2 Army questions? I was submitted 3 Army questions. Correction. I stand corrected. Or in this case, I sit corrected. Because who would stand while recording a podcast? Or who would stand while recording their audio? Do I look like a rapper to you? Don't answer that question. Anyway, the best and worst parts of the Army. The best part is, all your insurance is paid for, and your place of living is paid for, and your food is paid for. I think that's pretty spiffy. That is pretty cool. The worst part would be the pay that you receive. That's probably one of the worst parts. Also, certain leadership that you may be under may be some douchebags, and you have to follow their leadership. That's pretty bad too, as well. Yeah. And if you don't like the repetition, doing the same thing over and 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 over, and how many times am I going to say over and over again? And then you're not going to like the Army, because you're pretty much busy like most of the day, and you get like 7 hours of sleep. You wake back up, you got to repeat the same process, but that is life. People do that in the civilian world too. They go to their job 5, 6, 7 days a week and do that to make that money, honey. So being in the Army ain't a damn thing funny. Or maybe it is funny, depending on your personality. But don't get written up because you're incompetent or irresponsible. But such things happen in the Army. They expect such people to make such bad decisions, and because of that, they put them on extra duty, and make an example out of them. And then your superiors will look at them and point at them and look at you and be like, look, don't be like them. They are quote-unquote shit bags. I didn't make this word up, they did. I'm not a really big fan of calling somebody a bag of excrement, because that's just kind of extreme there. I would just say that they're just somebody who just lacked integrity and just made bad decisions at the current time. But you must always use positive reinforcement, folks. You must always use positive reinforcement, even when somebody does bad, to help them along the way. Otherwise, they may remain that same person that they are based off that bad decision that they made, because they don't think they can do any better, because people keep talking them down. We don't want this to be talked downtown, now do we? Moving on to the next question. Why is it called a pair of shorts? Wait, why is it called a pair of shorts? If I have one shorts in my hand and not 2 and just one, I would call it a pair of shorts. This one eludes me. I'll try to answer this question. I think it's called a pair of shorts because you have two legs and you put one leg in each pathway of the underpants garment that you're wearing there. So it's two legs stitched into one, which is a shorts, and they call it that because if you wear only your left leg covered and your right leg is uncovered with some type of clothing garment, then it just looks weird, so you need two. So I guess that's why it's called a pair, because yeah, but that's right, that doesn't make any sense at all. Wow, interesting. Next question. Why do you speak melodramatic? Well, because of my tone here of how soothing it is and whatnot. And for people who really know me, I can have really deadpan, dry type jokes and whatever. So when I speak melodramatic, when I tell stories to people, they could be melodramatic to get people's attention and whatnot. Like, you would really have to really know me and be up close. But I guess I could make it up an example now and be like, oh, I once had student loans. One day I was behind on a payment, and this old lady came up to my door and knocked on my door with a pistol. And I was like, who is it? She was like, Sally Mae. And I was like, what do you want? She's like, open the door, biatch. You owe me money. Don't make me kick down the door and get this money from you. So Sally Mae kicked down the door, and we wrestled for a bit. And I ran from Sally Mae. And Sally Mae chased me down the street. Sally Mae was like, I'm going to get this money, honey. Ain't no escaping me. Surprisingly, Sally Mae is pretty fast. Very efficient for her age. I don't know. Like, she's pretty old, but she must be working out. Whatever. So that's an example of me being melodramatic, you see? It just kind of helps. It's part of my charm. And my charm is quite possibly working on you. Moving on to the next question. Do you believe in ghosts? Well, certainly here through science we learned that the different dimensions, second dimension, we live in a third dimension, height, weight, width, depth, and fourth dimension is a fifth. I think it goes all the way up to the 11th dimension. So when you think about ghosts, you think of a higher dimensional being that we cannot comprehend. So ghosts quite possibly can be a fourth dimensional entity. So yes, I do believe in ghosts, because if you apply the same principles to you, a third dimensional being trying to interact with somebody on the second dimension, you would appear, you would wave your hand in their realm, but they wouldn't be able to comprehend your hand because it's third dimension. So it'll be this large ass second dimension flat hand that comes across the scene, if you will, that encompasses a large space, including them, and they wouldn't know how to comprehend it. The same thing applies with fourth dimension. They say that the third dimension is an interior of the fourth dimension. So, if you will, I think that's how the Force works in Star Wars. When Darth Vader chokes somebody with the Force, he's really using his fourth dimensional body to put his fourth dimensional body around somebody's throat and choke them. That's why you can't see it. So yes, this one does believe in ghosts. I, as a younger person, have experienced some ghastly tales, if you will, of ghost thingies. I rather not go into that, but it scared me. It really scared the shit out of me, and yeah, I was quite terrified, and I hope I don't have to experience that again. Now, if you don't believe in ghosts and you heard that and you're laughing like, "Huh, what a simpleton! How could you believe in something that hasn't been proven yet?" Well, excuse me for sharing my opinions. I mean, this is my podcast. If you don't like it, you can leave, but if you would have left, you would have been left because you're still listening to my podcast. Huh, caught you slipping. You like what you hear, don't you? Yep, you're going to tune into the next episode, aren't you? Yep, that's how good my podcast is. Humbly, I agree. Humbly, I do. So, this concludes this episode of the Equinox podcast. I am your host, A.L. Knox. Until again, which will be very soon, because I'm getting a lot of support. And I'm growing really fast. And people like me. You will hear me again, and until again, I will be putting on another episode here. And thank you so much for listening. And God bless you all. Stay cool, my friends. And stay thirsty. Oops, no, wrong infomercial right there. Okay, but in all seriousness, I'm going to go now. Later.